Hello everyone, my name is Zenitsu, and I'm back with another Digimon deck profile video. So today I'm going to be taking a look at BT17, and BT17 offers us lots of new and powerful tools in order to build and iterate on some new and existing decks. And today's deck I'm going to be taking a look at is going to be the latest iteration of AncientGarurumon in his purest form. So AncientGarurumon is, well, an aggro deck. It has lots of abilities to make full use of its aggro potential, utilizing hybrid Digimon that can digivolve off of Tamers. It also comes with a lot of good skills to help pressure the opponent, like being unblockable and having ways to quickly reduce the opponent's security safely with jamming. It also has access to bouncing the opponent's cards back to their hand as its main form of control, and it can even do that for the security to try to get through the opponent's security quickly and safely as well. Then on top of that, because it is a hybrid deck, it tends to not really care about its low end too much, allowing for good customization and flexibility for more toolboxing potential. The biggest weakness of the deck is the reliance on its Tamers to digivolve from to make the most powerful plays possible, so lingering board wipes that could prevent your Digimon from, well, even wanting to digivolve, and specific floodgates can be really potent against the deck. Redirecting and also non-traditional removal is another thing that is a big weakness for the deck, because we do have our own on-delete abilities that we want to try to do, and because our skill is mainly unblockable and not unredirectable, anything that has alternative forms to stop our aggression can easily do so. But regardless, this is still one of, if not the best deck in this current format due to its speed, potency, and efficiency. So with all that said and done, let's just dive right into the deck profile. Starting off with the Digi-Eggs, I am going to personally be playing a red base. I understand that a blue base is possible, and you kind of have to make some adjustments based on if you're playing red based or blue based, but this video is going to go off of the red base, but I can touch on the other side of things. What I'm really looking for out of the red base is mostly the Garurumon egg, just because it is one of the best draw eggs that we currently have, because it's whenever a card is removed from the opponent's security, we get to draw a card, which we have lots of different ways to do with our AncientGarurumon and, well, just attacking into security. So it's just one of the easiest ways that we have to be as consistent as possible. And then as far as the fifth egg, because you kind of do just want a fifth egg, it really could be whatever you feel like you want it to be. I like utilizing Yokomon just because we are running a couple Avians, Bird, Beast, Animal, Sovereigns, or Sea Animal traded Digimon in our deck. Mainly AncientGarurumon is part Beast, so it works nicely as an alternative target to grab back with our Yokomon, so we can have alternative ways to reuse our cards. But if you wanted to use Gigimon for some extra control, I wouldn't blame you either, because it's still just a really good card at being able to handle those low-level Digimon. But if you are looking for a blue base, this is probably where I would end up starting. And then when it comes to the core level 3s, when it comes to a lot of different builds, these are the level 3s that you're not really going to be seeing changing a whole lot between builds. So the deck, because it can run any low end it wants, there's no better low end in the game to run than the Ukumon package. So that's going to entail 4 copies of the promo Ukumon and 4 copies of BT17 Ukumon. They both have this absolutely broken ability where during your turn, once per turn, when one of your Digimon moves from the breeding area to the battle area, you get to hatch a new egg in your breeding area. That's on both of them, and that's the key ability that's accelerating our raising area, so that way we could refresh it and reload right away to constantly spam out Digimon every single turn and try to get the most out of them. They do have their own differences on what they're doing, just because the promo Ukumon is helping with memory management by gaining us a memory when we do that, and the BT16 Ukumon is helping with the overall consistency, allowing us to look at the top 3 cards of our deck and then put one of them into our hand, as long as it's a Digimon or Tamer, and the rest go to the bottom. And the other core level 3 of the deck is going to be another white Digimon, just because this is, again, one of the best searching or digging tools for any hybrid-based deck. So its on-play ability lets us check the top 5 for a hybrid or 10 warriors Digimon, and 1 tamer card from among them, and put it into our hand, and the rest go to the bottom. Then it has the upside for just sitting and chilling on the field by giving you 2 memory when your tamers digivolve, which is what hybrids do, so it just makes that evolution cheap if not free. Then when it comes to the other level 3s, this is kind of where you could customize it based on the different packages that you're going to run. Because I am going to be running a red package, I'm going to be playing some red Digimon. So that's going to entail 3 copies of the BT17 Muchomon. So Muchomon is a really great card at helping with even more card draw, because when one of your red Digimon attacks a player, we get to draw a card. So this combined with our egg means that we're going to be potentially drawing 2 cards that turn. Then the other 2 is probably going to be recommended a Floodgate, just so you could try to slow the opponent down, and Gatsumon is one of the better ones where players can't play Digimon by card effects, so it could turn off a lot of the abilities that the opponent might be trying to use. But again, at the end of the day, it doesn't necessarily matter, it just depends on the expected meta on what Floodgate is going to be the best at any given moment. And then when it comes to the level 4s, I'm only going to be running what BT17 literally gave us, which is going to be 4 copies of Lobomon and 4 copies of Garurumon. Between the 2 cards and what these cards are doing, we have lots of different ways to be able to utilize them because of the alternative ways we can digivolve into these cards, because they both can digivolve off of Koji named tamers specifically for 2, they could digivolve off of each other for 1, and they even can digivolve off of yellow tamers for 3. Lobomon is allowing us to actually have that warp ability, because its when digivolving ability states that if Garurumon is in this Digimon's Digivolution source, or we have a black or purple tamer or Digimon in play, then we could digivolve this Digimon into an AncientGarurumon from our hand for a low cost of 3 and ignore Digivolution requirements. If this effect did digivolve, then we have to delete the Digimon at the end of the turn, but the way AncientGarurumon works makes it not really seem like a downside at all. And what's allowing us to utilize the Lobomon even easier is the abilities off of Garurumon, where he has a when attacking ability to allow us to draw a card for more consistency, and a nice when attacking ability where we could digivolve this Digimon into a hybrid traded Digimon from our hand and reduce the cost by 1. So we could use this to climb into a level 5, or we could use this to digivolve into said Lobomon to then have Lobomon see that Garurumon is in its Digivolution source to then enable the warp. So you could already see there's lots of good synergy and flexibility on how we could approach utilizing these cards, and they both have the same inheritable ability of when attacking, if you have 7 or fewer cards in your hand, draw 1 for even more consistency. When it comes to the level 5s, I'm just going to be keeping it simple and running an all Beowulfmon lineup. You could customize the level 5s a little bit based on some of the level 5 hybrid Digimon that we have, but Beowulfmon is just doing something really simple and effective at just trying to control the opponent's field a little bit more. So the 1 copy of the BT7 Beowulfmon is going to be our main tempo card if we're actually trying to digivolve up into our higher stages, because it has a nice alternative Digivolution condition where if he's digivolving on top of a Digimon with a tamer in its Digivolution source, then we get to reduce that Digivolution by 2, so that makes him effectively digivolve for 1. If we use this in combination with the Kendo, then that makes it a free evolution into a level 5, allowing us to have that quick and easy climb. We do have to know if you are utilizing this card off of the Kendo, you will miss its when attacking ability, but that might not necessarily matter. It just depends on the situation. But his when attacking ability, it's really nice at controlling the lower level Digimon while still being able to recycle our hybrids in our Digivolution source. So its when attacking ability allows us to return a card with hybrid in its traits from its Digivolution source to our hand, and one of the opponent's level 4 or lower Digimon get bounced to their hand. And the BT17 Beowulfmon isn't too shabby either, having a nice alternative way to utilize him, because we actually have an ability from our hand during our main phase. We get to place 1 Lobomon or Garurumon from our trash underneath one of our Koji Tamers and digivolve that Koji into this Digimon, utilizing Koji as if it was a blue level 4 Digimon for a Digivolution cost of 3, which is just really nice at being able to get up into an instant level 5 out of nowhere while recycling our pieces, because just like the old Beowulfmon, the new one still lets us return a card with hybrid in its traits from its Digivolution source to our hand. This time it's when we Digivolve up into him, so it's a little bit easier to use, especially with our new Kendo, and the reward for doing that is, well, not only just adding a hybrid that we wanted in its inheritable to our hand, but we also get to have one of the opponent's Digimon in Tamers unable to suspend until the end of their turn, effectively stunlocking their Digimon to make them as useless as possible, which is good for offensive and defensive plays. Then its inheritable ability is just more added control, where when attacking once per turn, if this Digimon is a hybrid or 10 warrior traded Digimon, we get to bounce one of the opponent's level 4 or lower Digimon from their field back into their hand. And then when it comes to the level 6s, I'm going to be running the only level 6 the deck actually needs, which is 4 copies of AncientGarurumon. So this card is absolutely correct on how good it is. The first thing we have to note about it is it actually has a couple of different ways that we could utilize the card. Obviously, off of the Lobomon, we know that we could warp into this card, but we could still Digivolve normally off of our level 5 into it, because it has a nice on-play and when Digivolving ability to return one of the opponent's Digimon with the lowest level back into their hand for some good extra control, and we actually can use that on-play ability utilizing Lobomon and Kendo Garurumon to essentially hard play this Digimon for 6 in case we just need to try to get AncientGarurumon on the field. Then he has a nice added ability where during your turn, once per turn, when an effect adds a card to either your hand or the opponent's hand, your opponent adds the top card of their security stack to their hand, acting as some good passive burn. And he even has a nice third ability, which is an on-deletion ability, so that'll trigger off of our Lobomon if we're choosing to warp up into our Ancient, where we get to return one Tamer and one hybrid traded Digimon from our trash to our hand, having good recyclability and usability on our cards, and then we also get to play a Tamer card from our hand without paying the cost, meaning that we have an extra way to be able to play out our Tamers to constantly keep up the pressure, because we then can use that Tamer to Digivolve up into a new Digimon. And then when it comes to the Tamers, I'm mostly going to be focusing on the Koji name, because that's what our level 4s Digivolve the cheapest off of, so that incentivizes us to want to run more Kojis than any other Tamer. And I do have enough room for a couple of additional support Tamers to help flesh out and round out the deck. So as far as our actual Kojis, I'm going to be running 4 copies of the BT7 Koji. The top half of the card basically doesn't do anything because we're not running Magna Garurumon, and it's a really hard effect to use, but the inheritable ability is so good it more than makes up for it, because during your turn, once per turn, when a card effect adds a card into your hand, which we have lots of draw power in the deck to trigger, we get to gain a memory for doing so, and then this Digimon can't be blocked for the turn, so it's an alternative way on being able to get damage across. Then the other Koji Tamer is going to be 4 copies of the BT17 one, which is a memory setting Tamer, so it has that going for it. And on top of that, it also has an inheritable ability that's similar to the BT7 one, where when a card is going to be added to our hand by an effect, we still gain a memory, but the difference is this time the Digimon is going to get jamming, so that way our attack is going to be safe into the opponent's security. Then as far as our support Tamers go, they could really be anything you feel like you want to run, but I'm going to be running 2 copies of Digimon Emperor, because unless we get a ban and restriction list or there's a dynamic shift in the game, Digimon Emperor is still just one of the most powerful anti-meta Tamers that we could play with, because of its secondary ability of when an opponent's level 3 Digimon moves out from the breeding area to the battle area, we get to gain 2 memory to try to anti-tempo the opponent. But the first ability, which triggers during all turns, isn't that bad either, where when an opponent's level 5 or lower Digimon is deleted, we get to suspend this tamer to draw a card, again just helping with the overall consistency. But the anti-tempo-ness is really powerful, especially against the Mirror and other decks that are utilizing the Ukamon package or need to raise out on their level 3s in order to gain some specific abilities. Then the other tamer of the deck is going to be 2 copies of Louis, so Louis is just raising acceleration. So it has an on-play ability where we get to move one of our level 3 or higher Digimon out from our breeding area to our battle area, so that way we basically can use it to get an extra attack out of nowhere, and it's even efficient on doing so because when a Digimon moves from our breeding area to the battle area, we get to suspend this tamer to gain a memory, so he does see the Digimon that you're forcibly moving off of his on-play out, so this tamer essentially costs 2, making it kind of like an extra hybrid for game factor as long as we have a Digimon in our raising and enough memory to utilize Louis. But if Louis just sticks on the field early enough, then we could use that extra memory to make more powerful plays possible, so he's a good card at basically any stage of the game. And then when it comes to the options, I'm going to be running just a very classical option package for what this deck is trying to do. So I'm running 3 copies of Hammer Spark just for that instant memory gain, because you do need that instant memory gain sometimes to make your plays possible. On top of the fact that we have some really good removal options in the form of 2 copies of Crimson Blaze, because Crimson Blaze is another anti-meta card where it just reduces its play cost for each Digimon that's on the opponent's field. So the wider their field, the cheaper this card is, and it's going to delete all of the opponent's Digimon with 6k DP or less, and the opponent can't play Digimon by card effects until the end of their turn, so really, again, like Atsumon, can try to lock them out of specific plays and clean up wide fields. And as far as the more targeted large body removal, that's going to be for the 2 copies of Heaven's Judgment. So Heaven's Judgment works off of us utilizing the fact that a lot of our Digimon are part yellow, and this card gains benefits for each color that we have on our field when it comes to our Digimon. So Ukamon and Bokumon are both white Digimon. We have some red rookies as well. Then a lot of our cards are 2 color, being blue and yellow. So we have at least 4 colors we have access to be able to utilize this ability basically 5 times on reducing one of the opponent's Digimon by 6,000 DP. So we could split this up and spread it out in any way we want, so this could also double as a board wipe for us having lots of different color representation on our fields, but out of security, it's just a simple minus 12k. And then the last option that's going to bring home the deck is going to be 2 copies of Ancient Guardian Deity, and what we're utilizing this card for is its main ability to return 1 card with hybrid or 10 warriors in its traits from our trash to our hand, having alternative ways again of grabbing back whatever we need, while also having the ability to play what we want relatively cheap, because we then get to play 1 Digimon with 10 warriors in its traits or a tamer card with an inheritable effect from our hand and reduce the cost by 4. So we're either basically playing our Ancient for 4 because the cost reduction will make it a 2 cost to play plus the 2 cost of the option, or we're using it to play out our tamer for 2. But for the most part, this is just my interpretation of the deck, and I do think this is a very strong deck, if not one of the best decks in the current format, based on how fast and efficient this deck is at moving and finding all of its parts and pieces and dealing with potential problems that the opponent could be presenting us with. And it's not like this deck is devoid of any customization, because we still have lots of other cards that we could think about utilizing to spruce and spice up the deck based on the tools that we have access to, want to play, and utilize based on the meta environment we're going to be playing in. And it's not like this deck doesn't have the ability to get even better in the future, because we are getting more hybrid supports at come BT18, and we also do have a couple of promos that we could play around with as well. But tell me your thoughts about the deck down in the comments below, and while you're down there, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you found this video to be helpful and informative. And I want to thank everyone for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.